it's all right, yo.
I
Almost
love
didn't
that
make it
music,
there.
though. Love
No,
that
yeah.
music.
Almost
Yeah,
didn't
it's
make it
good.
there. Yeah, the gremlins out today, man.
What do you mean? What's going on?
Barely catch it in there, man. I was like, dive in. Anyway, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Living Room here on We Global. It's great to have you with us. Hope you guys are having a great weekend and an even better Sunday as well. Thank you for taking the time to join us. We don't take it for granted at all. It's really great to be connecting with people from the Caribbean all over the world as well. So thanks for joining us. Guys, how's it going?
Yep.
Doing good.
Yep. Feeling pretty
Doing
good this
good?
evening. Yeah, man. Good
Doing
Sunday.
good. I
Good
see
Sunday.
filling his glasses there again.
Aye. You
Yeah,
taking
well,
the
I
chances
think
this week?
no,
No,
not at all.
he start out straight away. You
Yeah.
won't go straight away with the glasses.
No,
That's
I
good.
find whenever it comes to reading, this is my new normal,
Listen,
as they say.
Yeah.
welcome, man. Don't feel bad, but it's
Yeah.
just.
I don't feel bad
just-
about it.
It is.
I've accepted it. I am at peace with it, man.
You're right.
You're making it sound real heavy.
You know what I'm saying? I don't understand.
It's only glasses, me.
The man make it sound as if he's on the other side and heading down.
You know what? I'm at peace. I'm at
It's
peace.
just classy. It's just classy. How you doing, Greer? Good afternoon to you as well. Hope things are going well in Trinidad.
Not gonna be trending just now. Phil is
Yeah,
at peace.
understand. Phil is at peace with wearing glasses.
my glasses. Yeah,
Finally. No, that's good. That's good. I'm
long
happy
battle.
that you're at peace, man. I'm happy at you.
Yeah, man.
But look, before we get into it, let's just pay a little bit of tribute to, three stalwarts of the region whom we've lost over the last week. Colin Observer Reed from Barbados and King Swallow from Antigua, and then who I would consider a legend of the region, Toots Hibbert. Really, and we lost these three this weekend.
Yeah, as I was thinking about this, I thought, sometimes we really take it for granted how much these people's families give them to us so freely.
Yeah.
And to the region, and these three, I am familiar with their music and big loss to the region, but condolences to the families because they're the ones who have given these people to us so freely, and we've been able to enjoy their music so much. So condolences to the families.
Yeah.
Indeed. And they themselves have given themselves so freely as well, because, very often in the arts across the region, not a huge set of money to be made at times, or it's very seasonal, or after a while it considerably declines. But they continue to give us their gift and they give us their talents and to mentor others to take their place as well. So we really must celebrate them and celebrate their families as well and thank their families also.
Yeah, for sure.
Give condolences.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So what's been going on your side, Corbin?
Well, I think the four words for me really this week is it's far from over.
It's far from okay, true. Explain what you mean there.
Well, you would see that Birmingham is going into a lockdown. We've got new COVID rules starting tomorrow here in the UK, the rule of 6. And to be honest,
Welcome.
I know this was up by you for a long time, and because when I want to start home, when I go, hey, everybody know,
You blame
I
it-
actually
you blame
feel
it
I feel it's them,
this is the thing, right?
on- No, it's just that we actually testing.
Oh,
that's what it is?
But we ain't doing it down here. Well, I guess you're Wolverhampton, so you don't think we're doing it in London?
Man, look,
I don't know. I think there's a different set of rules down south.
You think so?
I believe so.
Could be. You don't know.
well, I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle.
That is
so
where the population density is. So how is it?
Because
How is it that up north, where we're so sparse and separated?
Sparse. Yeah, y'all sparse. But yeah, for guys who don't know, I think it's UK wide now these days, Mark, not just Wolverhampton.
Yeah.
We're the rule of 6, so only 6 people or 6 close family members allowed in the house as far as gatherings are concerned. That's down from 30, and that's because we are seeing a bit of a increase, I think it is.
Well,
When we look at the daily average in cases testing positive for coronavirus, that's what our curves are looking like at the moment.
it is, and I say it's not over because when you look across in Europe, you can see on Friday, Spain had 12,183 new cases. France had 10,000 new cases on Friday and 9,000 on Thursday. And here in the UK, we've been dealing with 3,000 cases every day, back to back since I think Wednesday. So it's coming, and it's quite a challenge facing us at the minute.
Yeah, well, I can only hope that the medical services and what's not can cope with whatever is coming their way this time around. Hopefully, it's not as severe a hit on them as it was in the first wave, so to speak.
Well, that's what they've said. They've said that the NHS have said that they feel a bit more prepared than with the initial onslaught of cases. So time will tell.
Yeah, well, and similarly, we're seeing it across the region as well. I think people are flying again. Not as much as they were before, but I don't think it takes much really for that to impact other countries. And hopefully the Caribbean can get a grips and see what's happening in Trinidad, what's happening in Jamaica and the OCS islands as well. Probably only a matter of time before Barbados sees a similar thing also happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's hope that we can cope with what's happening there, and we hope we make the right decisions, So for our leaders, we lift them up.
Well, it's really easy to get COVID fatigue, to be honest, because you can feel as though, the last 6 months were tough, but you can feel as though we've got to kind of get ourselves together, go again, because this is coming fairly rapid. Yeah. And of course, again, here in the UK, in case people haven't been following it, we are grappling with Brexit.
I haven't heard that word for a while.
Which all of a sudden seemed to be back on the political table.
It's back on the table again. Well, that's going to be so interesting because the UK is at risk of really losing a lot of credibility on the world stage.
Absolutely.
If they go ahead and break the very laws that they signed up to only a few months ago, So that's going to be interesting to see what happens there with that saga.
Well, I saw the Secretary of State for I think for the Treasury traipsing out this week to make an announcement that we've just signed a £15 billion deal with Japan.
Yeah,
a drop in the ocean, But I guess that's where we are now, steering our ship in the world.
They heralded that it was a bit more than what the EU had done. But I think when all the technocrats went into the detail, it was slightly more. It's pretty much the same deal with the EU, with a few more add-ons, as you would expect with a bilateral deal.
Of course. Of course.
So that's interesting. I see also in the Caribbean as well, we had some cricket recently, man.
Yeah, man. I know our Trinidad fans who are in here this evening are going to be continuing to rave about, their 4 championships now. Four cups.
It's
Trinbago Knight Riders.
That correct. I saw even Prime Minister Rowley put a little dig into Chastity and what's not regarding that in his message. It was good to see the levity though, but it was good. It's good to see the levity in the response. But congrats to Trinbago Knight Riders. Well done again. Good stuff. It was good cricket all around, man.
Yeah, it was just sad that we weren't able to get people into to see these games and invigorate the atmosphere. But I'm sure the guys had a wonderful time.
No, that's the other discussion we keep having all the time about being our own bubble and allowing our people to travel around internally. Yeah. We actually had the perfect opportunity with a region-wide tournament to get people moving around and to actually start to reinvigorate some of the economies. But anyway, that's gone. It didn't happen.
That's in the past.
Exactly. But congratulations to Trinbago Knight Riders.
Absolutely. And I know that as we talk about sport, I know that you are going to try to gloss over this, but I'm going to raise it. And go on. Listen, for those fans who are joining us for the first time today, look, we love football here in the living room. Okay, I am an Arsenal fan, very proud of that. The guy here in the white shirt is a Tottenham fan. The other side of North London. And Phil, you're the Man City fan these days with your son?
He just carry his son to football. He ain't about the football. He can now try to convince you, right? That he try to convince you of cricket that he knows about football.
I'm not going to go there. At the moment, I am just.
He's a taxi service. That's all.
Exactly.
That's all.
I just wanted to declare in your living room, and I'm going to speak it out. This is Arsenal's year. I leave it there. Okay. I done with that.
He be saying, listen, and if you don't know Mark, just watch the comments on Facebook and different places. By November, he gonna be saying, man, this team is bare rubbish. We need to change something. We're going back to the old philosophy. Listen, don't listen to Mark and that, right? That's just a little bump because the season now start. Give it 3 weeks and this one here can be complaining. Trust me.
All right,
Trust
man.
me.
We'll see. And of course,
What convinces you this is Arsenal's year?
we just look good. We look solid. We've got a manager who knows what he's doing, and he's getting the best out of our boys. And listen,
This same thing last year, he was cussing. Don't listen to him. No Arsenal fan. Don't listen to them. Don't
I
listen
hear
to
you.
him at all.
I want to give a big shout out to our friend Nazira, who is a living room regular and a big friend of ours.
How you doing, Naz?
Of course, the West Indies women's team are here in England, and we want to wish them all the best in the upcoming series as well.
Yeah, I got a feeling they're going to do pretty well.
I think so. I think so.
They're going to do pretty good.
So listen, who have we got in the living room this week, man?
Well, the living room is all about the educators. You know, before we were saying schools are shut or everything was online. Now it's that season. It's kind of back to school.
Is it actually back?
Kind of. Or in some form or fashion, not back to normal, but back to school, whatever that looks like. And, previous few episodes ago, we had some educators from around the region and some West Indians living in the UK and in Florida, USA as well. And we thought it'd be great to bring them back after they've had this summer holidays, but I know many of them probably didn't have much of a holiday. But after the summer period, and just have that discussion of, some are back a week, some are back a couple of weeks, some are now about to go back. Yeah. Some are face-to-face, some are quasi-face-to-face, some are all virtual, and we just thought it'd be great to have a good Caribbean discussion about what does that look like? How are the kids doing? What are they saying? How are the parents doing? How are the teachers doing? What are some of the protocols in place? And perhaps we can learn from each other, and we hope our audience there would join in the conversation as well.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to this because that episode I was absent from class.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right. That's right.
Oh yeah.
So,
You should actually be bringing a letter today.
Indeed. No, that was a real good episode, and it'd be great to hear what has happened, what have they learned, and then also what's being put in place going forward. So to all of our audience who are watching, again, this is the living room. If you're new, we are Re Global. I'm Andre. We got Mark and Philip there as well. Hit share. Send it to your friends. Hope we can get as many people into the conversation as possible. This is what we do every Sunday, 3 o'clock Eastern Caribbean time, 8 p.m. in the UK, 2 p.m. Pacific, Central, 2 p.m. Central. This is what we do. Have just great Caribbean conversations about a myriad of topics. And every now and then, just like last week, we get some special guests passing through as well. So David Rudder, if you're watching, how are you doing, sir? Great having you there last week.
Wow.
So this week we're going to be talking about the educators and just seeing what we can learn and seeing how they're doing as well, because I think that's important, not to lose how they're doing and how they're coping during this period, and even how they're coping going forward into getting back to school, so to speak. So we got a few people. Just to name, we got Andrea, Beijing in Wolverhampton. We got Anastasia, who's in Florida. We got Donna from Grenada, Wayne from St. Lucia, and Chanel from Trinidad and Tobago. And that's who's in the house today.
Wow. No, fantastic. The last time we spoke to the educators, it was really a trying time. So it would be really useful to understand how things have progressed and what they're looking forward to in the new season. Indeed.
So I'll go right ahead and just open the door and let them in.
Yeah.
Hey guys, how we doing?
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Hope everyone is doing good. We got a full house today. Hope everyone doing well. Good.
Hi.
Hi, Anastasia. How you doing?
I'm good. Good.
Great, fantastic. Wayne, you doing well?
I'm doing good, thanks.
Excellent.
Good man.
Well, welcome back to the living room, guys. It's great to have all of you back, and I know you would have been, probably over the summer, just maybe a little bit nervous or looking forward to it. How are you doing? How are you doing, Chanel? First of all, in Trinidad.
Great. I'm great. Going to school in August.
Oh, wow.
That's not really a norm, so it's good. I'm great.
Okay, excellent. And Andrea in the UK?
I'm very good. As a fellow Arsenal fan, I can only agree with
Oh
what
dear.
you were saying earlier,
Here we go.
Mark.
Come in.
No,
Come in.
let me take you
Come
off
in.
the screen, man. Let me take you off the screen.
Arsenal,
Don't jealous me, man.
we're looking strong. We're looking in good shape. So,
Man, listen, you've just said so much there, you know.
But so little. But so little.
Anyway, Anastasia, what's happening across there in Florida?
Well, we started back, like Shadil said, late August, which is unusual for us because usually it's by mid-August we're back. But we started, and it's been interesting so far. So
Right.
I'll share a little more about that later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just round up and see, make sure everybody's okay. Donna, you look like you're looking off into the sun. How you doing?
At the hills.
Oops, I think Donna got a little few technicals there.
This is crazy.
Okay, let's go to Wayne. Wayne, how's it going there in St. Lucia?
Okay, we're managing. We returned last week, so things are falling into place because teachers had to return from the 31st of August. That's 1 week to prepare, and then the students came in from the 7th. So, trial error, and then reassess what's happening. So, let's see.
Yeah, let's see. A bit of trial and error, sure.
Yeah, well, look, one of the things that I read earlier this week was a survey from Public Health England where they said 55% of parents are concerned about their children's well-being.
Yeah.
And, that really resonated with me because I am concerned about my children's well-being, with everything that we were speaking about in the intro there. So
that meant under these circumstances, because I'd be very concerned about the remaining 45%.
My thoughts exactly.
No, good point.
No, it is a very good point. But the truth is, there's a lot of nervousness around parents, and I have no doubt there's probably a lot of nervousness around teachers. So let's talk about this, Andrea. How are you feeling going back into school now at the beginning of the school year?
to be honest, I felt really happy to go back in because as teachers and pupils, we are used to a certain routine, and the COVID pandemic meant that everybody was out of their routine. And when we had to work from home, I did not enjoy that at all because you're used to interacting with pupils, interacting with parents, interacting with your colleagues. And I was reading an article this week talking about the importance of friendships in the workplace and how you spend time with each other. So I can totally understand parents being concerned, but I also think we need to give credit to pupils and how resilient they are. And that's what I've seen with the UK going back, just the resilience of pupils wanting to be back together, seeing their friends, having face-to-face, just being back into their routine.
No, that's interesting. So what are you hearing from the kids? What are they saying? How are they feeling about what has happened and about getting back into the classroom?
I mean, I can't deny that there's a mixture of feelings because obviously some children have been affected by the COVID because they've lost family members or they've had family members and friends who were poorly but then have got better. So the children have been affected by it. And if you speak to children and say if they could have a wish, what would that be? They will say to you, we wish that the COVID never came. We wish that the COVID will just go away. But similarly, they are happy to be back there in new classes, meeting their new teachers, and just being back in that school environment, which, you know, with the remote learning, which I know we'll talk about later, you know, schools are doing their best to continue education, and that's what happened during the lockdown. But it just isn't the same at all.
Wow.
Yeah. So you're feeling a little hesitancy from the kids as well. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely. And you don't know what messages they're hearing from family or hearing from neighbours as well, because I've seen some templates and social media groups that are saying about don't go back, and you've got to say this to the school, you've got to say that, and don't agree to track and trace, don't agree to infrared, don't agree to this, and that is just not helpful at all, because everybody's worried, everybody's concerned, but we also need to get back into some kind of normality, this new norm everybody's referring to. We've got to, in a way, force yourself, because if not, what will everyone do? We'll just stay inside our homes, and then the whole world will just come to a halt and ground to a standstill. Well, that's just not reality.
Wow. Yeah. So the children's, Chanel, I know that you are in early years, and perhaps you can give us a feel for what the younger ones are feeling from your observations so far.
They kind of restricted, but at the same time, now they're so accustomed to moving because of that. At that age, it's a norm to just be all over and play. But then what happens is that what I found, happening, and what needs to be, and I just, try that with my children even more and with others around, is that they play as work. So when they're kind of restricted now to the computer, I mean, they're accustomed to YouTube and going on the tablets and all of that, but seeing aunties in a new way is like kind of weird to them, and they kind of still getting adjusted to that. So, but we still want to bring the play aspect in it for them to feel comfortable, for them to be engaged. So that's the only thing. They're not in the setting where you could get a hug, and you could get a high five and all of that, but the engagement is there. So
and what does back to school look like in Trinidad and Tobago at the moment?
It looks like computer, we're virtual, because we're not really we're virtual until January. So
okay, so how are you until January? So how are you managing things like playing? Because you talked about play. Is that just online games or
online games? Now we're catering for the children who are, well, now more than ever, if we weren't doing that before, we have to cater to the children's learning abilities. So you have, the videos, the tactile learning. So you have like packages to collect so that they are engaged, because that's where the frustration comes when they're not able to be themselves on the go and, fully involved in their learning. So instead of just sitting behind the screen and listening, that's not going to happen, especially for a whole 30 minutes or 20 minutes. They have to be engaged. So it's more than ever now. We have to have things more hands-on.
Wow. That's so intriguing and insightful. What about you over there in St. Lucia, Wayne? The children, what are you seeing in the kids who you've been able to interact with so far?
Well, we have older ones, so from 11 to 18, and they're really excited to be back at school, to interact with their friends. It's with all those protocols and procedures that we have to follow. That's a bit of a challenge, wear your mask when you move around, because so much so that we had to split our classes into two. So a class of 36 now is 18. But just in terms of the children, majority of them are happy to be back. In terms of their parents, some parents say it was time for school to be open, because
I had enough of this.
Yes, I had enough of, and they say, I had enough of your children. So it was time for you to have them back, and it just to bring back, just to bring back some normalcy. Because as a parent, I have one son at UE, one son going to grade 1, and it was time for him to go back. I was tired of him in the house, so imagine.
Of course.
So I could imagine parents, but all in all, the excitement is there just to get them to reintegrate into some form of normalcy so that they can
No, that's
function
really, yeah,
Imagine that. So
to the best of their ability.
of course.
So Anastasia, Florida has been the epicenter, so to speak, for a while there now
Yes.
regarding outbreaks of the virus. What does back to school look like at the moment there in Florida?
Well, we've started virtually, so back to school is more the same from before. So we started virtually. The kids are in twos, I guess, having the break. We left school, we were virtual for a couple of weeks, and then they went on summer break. So that in itself, being away from the school building, has brought out an enthusiasm now that we have started back online again. Um, what I the only thing that I see is I get to see how parents are dealing with their kids not being and the provisions that they're making for those kids. Like, for example, I have some students who are online virtually, but they are in a room at work with a mom or a dad. And I have some kids in a pod type setting where some parents are getting together, and those that might not work are, I guess, taking care of like a group of kids, the same kids all the
Oh, wow.
time, making
Okay.
sure that they
Oh, wow.
are online and focused and getting their work done. So it's sort of like
Right.
people are becoming very inventive in how
Creative, yeah.
they're dealing with the kids not being on site. But in terms of the children wanting to be back in school, they are there. They are focused so far and attentive and are participating and seemingly there's they know that COVID is there, but the resilience of children, you can see it like a theme throughout this whole thing is that they
Yeah.
want to learn and it's not affecting them outwardly. We know that there are other social, emotional effects that it could have, but with regards to wanting to be in school and learn,
Yeah.
that's still there.
The number one.
Well, that's great. And is your school embracing that approach with parents getting together in bubbles and teaching the kids? Is that being embraced in Florida?
Encouraged.
Well, not the parents teaching the kids, but rather like it's more like a daycare room where they come and someone is there to monitor that they are doing
Okay.
work, and it's not a school initiative. It's something that parents themselves are getting
that's interesting.
together and doing, and it's it's an idea that it could work for some. It
Yeah.
provides them with knowing where their children are during the day and still being able to work because there's still that balance of I have to work. I don't have any daycare for the children, so
Yeah.
those issues still are with us right
They're
now.
real issues, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's good that the parents are finding ways around that
Yeah.
for sure. And have you sort of had interaction with parents leading up to this to prepare them and maybe give them a few ideas and so on and sort of coach them through this transition?
Well, our lines of communication have always been open, but I really haven't been able to like have a long pre contact until I was assigned a class and I had all the
Yeah.
demographics, but with the start of school,
Yeah.
I've kept an open line of communication because in this circumstance, especially, there has to be that communication line where everyone understands because there are a lot of factors that are affecting that are not in the control, say the teacher or the
For sure.
parent. And we all have to be understanding so that we can at least find the best way possible, to deliver education and to understand the parent situation. So I've been in contact with parents, talking, letting them be aware of things so that they know what to do. And we had a lot of challenges starting back here in Florida, in Miami, and that was like the paramount thing that was needed to keep that line of communication open so that what's going on and we can be more understanding.
Yeah. So when you talked there about parents, and when we spoke to you educators previously, parents were mostly at home. Going back a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been a little bit of a transition now with kids going back to school, parents going back to work, and I'm sure that is probably throwing up some fresh challenges. Donna, I wonder if you can come in on this one. Are you hearing us okay?
No, I don't think she is.
I
Okay.
think she's fair to.
I hope my connection is good, but I'm just
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes,
Yeah.
hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear
Yeah.
you.
Hello, I'm hearing you. Not the name. Sending.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we'll come back to Donna in a second.
Yeah, we'll come back.
Yeah.
Well, let me just move across to you then, Chanel. The challenge around parents returning to work, and how is that kind of manifesting itself in Trinidad at the moment compared to where you were a few weeks ago?
Oh, most definitely. Like Anastasia was saying, some parents will come together and probably when they can go by someone who's actually at home. And so you'll have like about five children there trying to get the work done online, or you will just have some of actually, fortunately, some parents actually, well, unfortunately, because they're out of a job, but they're actually home
Yeah.
with children. So it's both ways. Either they're home or they're not. I actually saw one child in a store with their parents on the tablet. So that's working out. And then you would see parents just trying, they're just trying when necessarily. Some we kind of take a chance and have the children in a space like teachers. We'll have the children in a space for a few hours and the parents will just come back because they just can't. For those of them who can't, they just can't. And so you can't just leave the child alone. But
Yeah.
some parents, some teachers are actually going out their way or adding that value to the whole education. Giving them that space for the parents to allow them
Yeah,
to work for a few hours, and because we're not allowed to stay in the school,
Right.
of course.
right? So we just the only way we can stay in the school is to drop off packages and for the parents to pick up. But when necessarily, we just open our doors in one space. So you have the parents with the teachers home, the parents who have to drop off by grandparents or aunts, and some of the parents who are actually home because of the situation.
Right.
That's
And
yeah.
and Wayne was saying, obviously, some parents are just happy to get the kids out of the house.
Yeah.
But by and large, how are parents actually communicating with you? What are they saying? What are concerns that they're expressing to you? And it's, Andrea, you might want to take that one. What kind of concerns are you hearing from parents as this time as we come back to school?
I think the majority of the concerns are linked to the children all being back together, because obviously the children weren't together in their full numbers, whereas schools in the UK have returned back. But then we've seen that some schools have then had to isolate either year groups or classes. So I think it's that uncertainty and anxiety. Parents have returned to, well, some parents have returned to work, some parents are still working from home or furloughed, and then thinking, well, will I get a call today to say that my child has a temperature, and will I be able to get a test for my child? And also with parents returning to work, they're now around their colleagues who they weren't around. So then that's another level of anxiety and worry. Will I end up having symptoms through a colleague as well? So there's lots of different layers that all come together. The majority of parents are happy that their children are back, but then it's getting used to the new routines that I know some of my colleagues alluded to, such as the one-way system, the staggered starts, data start times, staggered finish times as well, and all those procedures that are now in place that we once upon a time never had to think about. So I think that's another layer in itself, and it takes time to adjust, and your mindset has to adjust. I'm adjusting, and I've talked to a lot of my friends and colleagues, and we are adjusting. And just to reiterate what Chanel said as well about the younger children, social distancing with young children is very difficult because that's how they learn, through play, and they are very tactile. And to say to 4 and 5 year olds, okay, you can't hold hands and you can't hug, that is very difficult. That is very difficult.
You mentioned there the concerns parents may have if a child has a sniffle and has to be tested. what are the protocols there for the school itself? If that happens, say a child tests positive, what happens?
So the protocols are that schools contact Public Health England and advice is given. But what I'm hearing is the advice seems to be mixed. And then another issue at the moment. So a primary school local to where I live, they had a child test positive. So the whole year group, and it's a large primary. So that was 90 children, all had to self-isolate. And then about half the year group started to display symptoms, but only about a quarter of the year group could manage to get a test, because there seems to be this issue at the moment with the availability of tests and tests in your local area. So people are trying to book a test, and then it's saying your nearest test centre is 40, 50, 60 miles away. So then at schools, you're trying to navigate the pupils and staff who are in school, pupils and staff who are out of school as well. And then you've also got the issue of siblings, because you may have siblings in the same school, and you've also got siblings that go to different schools as well.
Yes.
So although it was promised in this country that, you know, going back into September, there will be a real quick turnover with the testing, that is not the reality that is being seen at the moment.
It just adds to the stress as well that people are going through. And the same thing, Wayne, in St. Lucia, what if a child tests positive? Or how do you go about getting the test if you see a child with a runny nose? You know, what protocols are being put in place there?
Well, what it said, initially is that parents, guardians, public-wise, they're informed that once your child is sick, do not send your child to school. But nonetheless, if the child, you see the symptoms, you take them to, in the community that you belong or your school belong to, there is the nursing. So you get the nurse and you follow on, and then I guess you have to do the contact tracing. So the Ministry of Health will do the follow-up and all of that. And sad to say, school will be closed because of that. So that's why in general, we are just being prepared for the blended learning, just in case something happens and they say you have to go fully online, that we are already prepared.
Wow.
It's better prepared than the March, April period.
Yeah.
There seems to be a great dependency, therefore, on technology, regardless of if you're completely online or blended and having that as well. What's the experience with technology been like?
Well, coming from when school had just been closed in March, we had the difficulties with, so we had to train the teachers and somehow virtually train the students, so they were not prepared. So what we did last week was, when school opened, we gave each student their email address and show them how to navigate the portal in preparation for if something happens. So they are better prepared this time around, as opposed to, and the surveys are still going on as to the number of students with devices. So it's better to use a laptop or desktop as opposed to the tablet or the phone. And we still have the issues that not all students will be online at the same time, because if I'm using my parents' data and they're at work, I could only use it in the evening.
But
I remember. So you expect them to do the work.
I remember us having that conversation a few weeks ago, Wayne, about the sharing of data and the sharing of devices. Has there been any movement by your government in particular to try and broker any deals at all with any of the data providers or telecommunication companies to support education?
Not that I am aware of. Persons are putting forward cases. So we have this gentleman going out there sourcing as many computers for personnel as well to, give one or two for a family. But in terms of the internet providers, we have not, or I have not heard of any deals with them to help that. Because a long time ago, we used to have free Wi-Fi in particular spots in the community. But that went under the bridge, so that's something they could bring back,
Right.
so persons can get to do their work. But in the school, nonetheless, we have both students and teachers have access to the internet, but that's when you're in the school.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And Chanel, in Trinidad, have they been able to close that technology gap of who maybe have access to who doesn't? And how have they managed to do that?
Yeah, I recently heard my lovely Minister of Education, we have a new Minister of
Okay.
Education, and she's really doing a wonderful job so far. They have been speaking to the internet providers, just so that, where the children may not have internet access, that or good internet access, that something is worked out, as well as the technology we're trying to get stuff. Government is really trying to get partnerships going to get laptops to children who may not have
Right.
the laptop, as well as I recently heard of the tax. They reduced or removed rather the tax for the laptops coming in.
Okay.
So all of that work in progress is happening so that children will be able to have the access.
Right.
So yeah, we're working on that
The
right
point
now.
that Wayne just brought it there was that children aren't going to be online at the same time. I thought that's quite interesting. How are you dealing with that? The fact that because that I guess you're not teaching shifts, therefore, or are you teaching in shifts, or how are you dealing with children not being online at the same time?
Okay, well, since we have face-to-face, we're using the blended approach.
Yeah.
The best thing for us now is that the work is online, and it's best that the students access it when they can. Because I cannot go and teach a face-to-face class, an online class, like a live via Zoom
Exactly.
or Google Meet at home, when I am not certain if it's just 10% that I are getting, so it's not
Yeah.
fair to the whole.
Yeah.
So what we're doing, or what we have informed the teachers at our school, and that's specific to the school where I'm at, is that you place the work there for the students. Sometimes it could be a resource, a video to watch, so maybe, so they're not in on Tuesday, but they're back on Wednesday. So on Wednesday, you could have that discussion with them. So, but it's not time specific. So at 8 to 9, you have to be in that space doing that work.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But nonetheless, you have work, and before the day's out, you will have to do complete the task to the best of your ability. That is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
No, I was going to ask Anastasia, how is it playing out in Florida in terms of the whole technology platforms and access?
Well, when we left,
I like how you always start with a little bit of a Florida.
When I really want to go away,
it sounds like you were really hedging your answers here, because I know Florida has some interesting times in terms of leadership at a gubernatorial level and even coming down. So I know how you always start with a little. If I tell you what you want, I tell you really.
we got to mute the show.
You don't want that to happen.
Well, yes, like I said, we started virtually, and the idea had been for us to return with a new delivery platform, K-12, and that failed miserably in terms of from training of the teachers. We were, in my opinion, not adequately trained on the platform, and to handle the capacity, because when we're talking about our district is like one of the 4th largest district in the United States, and the number of students that had to be from kindergarten, and that's like primary, what do you call it again, reception, all the way to high school, had to be using this platform. And apart from problems with the platform itself, we had connectivity issues with the internet, where the internet provider, some security that it provides for the school in terms of our access to internet, was hacked. by we had a cyber attack, and eventually a 16-year-old high school student was arrested.
Oh wow.
In relation to that. I think he's been released since then.
So he
But
hacked the system.
yes, he
Well,
hacked the system.
he didn't want to come back.
He didn't. Okay.
I have
That's a
no
bit
idea
extreme, so that they don't have to go back to school. But all right.
But that interfered with on the day that the first day when we went back on Monday, it interfered with us being able to all students being able to connect to the platform. We were getting in, we were getting kicked out, we were getting error messages. It was very, very difficult. So what evolved was over that week and over a 2-week period was basically some students having access, like Wayne said, if fairness has to be a part of education, always where everybody receives the same thing. And we had some students being able to get in and to interact with the curriculum, and then others not being able to. What teachers did, we pivoted back to Microsoft Teams and Zoom that we had initially, employed, but yet the K-12 system wasn't working. Eventually, now we have done away with the new platform, and we have just decided to go back to using Microsoft Teams and Zoom inside of Microsoft Teams. And that has proven, I think, just from talking to colleagues and just the general feel is that we are better able to deliver a curriculum via those platforms. So they've been sturdy, and that's where we are with that.
But that sounds like a very expensive mistake there, though, Anne.
Well, luckily, according to reports, the contract was not fully signed off on. So everything
allegedly
has been.
According to reports, so that's how she put that. According to that's an offline conversation, but we really went on there, right? Yeah. Potentially.
Your guess is as good as mine. But the last I read from our superintendent was that they had severed ties, and the company had assumed there was not going to be any repercussions in terms of us doing that. So we're going to move on using old systems, and it just like as educators, in light of everything that is happening, we just need to be versatile and flexible and have a plan B. Because we just can't throw our hands up in the air and say, oh, well, the system that they provided me is not working, blah, blah, blah. School is still going to be and we still have to deliver instruction. So you have to have like a plan B in as much as you can do, because I know there will come to a time when it's like, well, there's nothing more I can do. But as much as you can do, you have to see that as, like part of your thinking. What can I do to give these children what they need to have? As long as the curriculum is in place and the pacing is in place and we know what needs to be done, then let's think about an alternative. And that's like, have an alternative.
So was there something extra that the K-12 system was bringing that you don't get with just using Zoom and Teams?
The thing is, the idea behind it was that K-12 offered a built-in curriculum. It wasn't only an interface platform, but it had a curriculum. And in case anything in the future occurred, then we could always just go to virtual. So it allowed for that flexibility of switching. That was the idea, switching from virtual or in person. But obviously, it could not, service the capacity of students that we have.
But Andrea, let me bring you on this actually, because is there a danger that we try to do too much in this season when we are still trying to catch up and learn what we are doing? Because that sounds like a classic example that Anastasia has just explained there, where you're trying to transition into something big and new, but you haven't had enough time to test and it's failed. Is there a danger that we try to introduce too much newness, Andrea?
I think the fact that in the 21st century, we have to equip ourselves for digital skills and learning, and the generations that we are teaching, they are so used to social media and they are so used to technology. I think sometimes it's us as educators, and I talk about myself, that we are catching up, but the big issue that's come to light is also digital poverty. So in the UK, there was
That's a huge problem.
the scheme that rolled out from the government for laptops, and some schools reported back in the summer that their pupils never received those devices. So the gap is widening, and we talk about our disadvantaged pupils and how the gap is widening, but it's not just their face-to-face learning, it's the gap widening that they haven't got the access. And also broadband is another issue as well, because I think some of the providers, when everyone went to lockdown, just couldn't cope. Because I even had days when our broadband, and we've got like super fast fiber, and you're like, okay, I can't get on the internet, but you had millions of people across the world all trying to access. Schools in England by the end of September have got to have a remote contingency plan for what will be put into place should schools, whether it's the blended learning or go totally back to lockdown, although it's been said that the pubs will shut before schools close again. So as far as in my mind, the schools will not be closing. But then you also have the funding issue, because schools are needing to ensure they have sufficient devices. And as Anastasia has mentioned about the infrastructure, in this country, we have demonstrator schools. So demonstrator schools can provide support and training to other schools. So it's about that networking and schools working together, whether you're a standalone school or you might be in a multi-academy trust. I'm part of a multi-academy trust. So about schools supporting and networking each other. And I think as well, Mark, because the reality is that we don't want to get back into the situation we were in a few months ago, but we don't know that might come to light. So whereas we were caught off guard before, we've got to be ready this time and to say, well, this is a plan and this plan can be executed. But I think that the providers and the different networks, as schools and organisations link with them, there needs to be a plan there in place. And also in this country, Ofsted have said that they will start doing some sample visits later this term to see how schools responded to the pandemic and what they put in place.
And all the teachers said?
Fantastic. And the governor.
I don't know how helpful that is, because there will be a letter to report their findings. And as we're trying to get everyone back and the recovery curriculum, and we're focusing on mental health and well-being, as schools have done a lot of work with PSHE and making sure that children and staff are safe and feeling okay, that needs to be the focus. So there seems to be some different agendas, and schools and leaders are doing their utmost to make sure that provisions are in place so that children are learning. And you referred, Mark, to the catch up as well, because the learning that's been lost. So then as children have come back in, you're looking for the gaps and looking back to the previous curriculum for what they have missed out on. And I don't think the significance of what children have missed out on can be denied. And I'm not even going to go into the GCSE and A-level fiasco.
And one of the guys in the audience, Mark Ray, was just talking about having that balance between guys catching up, but then also still looking at the well-being of kids as well, and how difficult that must be for teachers to get that right and to get that balance. And for those in the Caribbean who don't know, Ofsted is the governing body here in the UK who kind of sets the curriculum and also makes sure that schools are adhering to it, not just the curriculum, but other things as well, and putting the correct protocols and stuff in place. Teachers just love them.
If you want to really upset a teacher in England, just mention the word Ofsted is coming next week.
Exactly. But Andre, you touch on something there which is really pertinent to the Caribbean, and that is broadband and digital coverage and digital availability. Chanel, what is broadband coverage like in Trinidad? One. And two, has there been any discussion that you've been hearing about, given the times we're in, to improve that? Because even as we've been doing this show, guys, as you know, when we have different people on from around the region, you can see the differences happening. Yeah. I mean, our current guest, Donna, has been unable to join us because of her broadband coverage. What's it like in Trinidad, Chanel? And what are the discussions there as well, as far as making it even better, given what we are going through right now in this COVID period?
The numbers are, I will just say it's up and down. It depends on where I wouldn't say the numbers. I just say it's up and down because it's not really stable. So it depends on where you live, of course. But they are working on that. As I mentioned before, they're working with the internet providers to ensure that it's a lot more stable, so that children are able to benefit greatly from this new norm. Because it's really, 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 really critical for in my field, the early learning field, that they get that they get the education, and not so just online, but even in addition to the broadband issue, the ministry has also offered television broadcasts, at certain times during the day, every day, so that children who may not have the Wi-Fi, they could, look on television and so on. And added to that, as I said, this is a time where the system is learning, and those that are controlling the system, they will learn that here's what the curriculum is just a taste of what the children can learn.
Yeah.
Because the environment is their classroom. And the first teachers are actually their parents. So when parents really sit with them and realize how you all were doing this, and all of that ties in. So in working with the broadband and all of that, they're working on that. And as I said, they will share when necessary. So all of that is a work in progress, and I am loving it so far.
Okay. You're loving it.
I'm loving it.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Why is that?
Why is that? Explain.
So we were talking about the curriculum just now, and how are the children going to catch up? And I laugh every time because it's interesting, because the well-being of the children is supposed to be part of the curriculum, right? So in learning different things, we have to learn how our well-being needs to be increased and so on. There are different tasks that we need to adjust and teach from. So not just, let's say, a particular subject, let's say mathematics, what are the certain things that we will miss out on. But really, I don't think they're missing out on anything once you give them that opportunity to learn all around. So it's kind of like introducing an integrated curriculum now, right? Which is very, very crucial for the holistic development of the child. And from early learning, the early learning field, that will obviously help them to be better performance, when they go into primary and secondary. So the integrated curriculum will definitely add the well-being aspect to whatever they're learning, because learning goes beyond the classroom, as we are really, really here now. We are face to face behind the screen, if that makes sense. But then too, we're also home. The children are home with their parents, and so what I mentioned earlier is that the parents are actually the teachers first, the children's first teachers. I'm so excited about it. Sorry, I'm stammering. But the thing is, the well-being ties in, and they're not losing out. I would say they're not losing out once we integrate the learning.
Wow. So
that's a really good
deep
perspective as well. It feels as though you're saying that the role of the teacher is changing to be almost that of a coach, an education coach, so to speak.
Yeah. Because really and truly, children are born to learn.
Yeah.
right? They're born to learn. So that's why you will find them being explorers, and they're
True.
engaging. They need to be engaged,
Yeah.
especially at this level. And of course, when we realize, okay, so my child is able to do this and not that, and then you realize, oh my gosh, what's happening? Because I have had Zoom classes where parents are like trying to hold the child to sit still, but
Yeah.
it's not normal for them, you know.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
once you understand that, then we're able to teach them in the way that they will learn, which is through play, which is just a way of being active in their learning. And then each individual has another way they learn. So generally, the children learn through play, and then everybody's visual, the tactile, the auditory, and so all of that is being shown to us now, and we're able to really connect with our children. So that's where the well-being will come even more.
Yeah. I'm just gonna shout out my boy Mark Ray over in
Yeah,
Cayman Islands.
I see
Because
Mark
he's
there.
loving the stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's right up his street.
Indeed.
So I know that we historically talk about the triangle in relation to education with the home, the school, and the child. And I was reflecting and wondering, is this triangle now becoming a square where we've got the home, the school, and the child, but technology now is a mandatory component of education? So Anastasia, how does the 21st century teacher ensure that they retain or remain relevant with the 21st century student?
Well,
Here we go again.
You can ask that.
I like to have a habit that
There's no square.
He's fire Anastasia, man.
Oh no, I was listening to Shadil, and I was thinking that for me, I was thinking about myself personally. I was saying the technology had this whole occurrence has really like dragged me into exploring and learning and growing as an educator and infusing technology more. I've learned so much. I mean, like there were a lot of things that were available to me from before, and I knew they were there. I dabbled in them, but now it has forced me to really learn how they work and to learn how I can use that to effectively deliver my curriculum to students. So I think as educators, it's a challenge almost, something that we can't run away from. We can't be our, I guess, great grandparents, because there's some parents today that are also technologically savvy too. We can't be can't live in with that old mindset of technologies for the youth, technologies for the young people. That's their thing. No, it's everybody's thing. And even for parents, they have to become more aware. You have parents that like the children are online and they don't know what they're doing. Even in the case of the 16-year-old that was involved in the whole cyber attack, his parents, their response was they didn't know what he was doing online. But it's not only a challenge, it's for that square. The other three have to really step up their game where technology is concerned. And the 21st teacher, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask if you saw technology as a threat or a hindrance before now.
No.
Did you see a bit of annoyance or a bit of we can do it better, we need people to actually convey this? Or did you see it as a potential threat? They want to replace us with technology, but that can't happen. But no, it's forced you to look at it slightly different, as it can actually help facilitate you being an even better educator?
Well, I don't think I saw it as a threat. I just saw it as another thing, just another thing, because there was so much already, and we have so many resources and so many, we go to training for strategies and different ways to engage and to deliver. And here's technology, and here are all these things. There's so much out there. That's the thing. There's so much that it can be inundating, and it can be stressful if you don't get the right perspective on it. And one of the things that I say is like, okay, you don't have to do every single thing where technology is concerned. Get 3 things, and be good at that and incorporate that in your teaching. And then it becomes, more fluid for you, and you might do something else. So it's more of a willingness out of necessity, as this COVID situation has shown us. And it is about you as a teacher understanding that this is a part of the job description. And that's the thing about teaching. Teaching is not stagnant job. It is constantly changing because there's always a buzzword. Now the buzzword is asynchronous and synchronous learning, where the students are learning with you, and then when they're learning on their own. So there's always a buzzword. There's always something new that we have had to be, and then technology has been there, but now it's up to us to throw it affairs, stop seeing it as a burden, and develop a perspective on how we can integrate it in our, part of our repertoire as teachers.
So it just seemed as if it was so much coming at you all the time, and every few months there was a new something to do with technology because it changed so rapidly. So as you say, it felt a bit burdensome trying to keep up when you were actually just trying to teach the kids as well.
Yep.
Yeah, the what Mark is saying there, it should always be seen as a tool, as opposed to be the end all of education. It's not replacing education, but really it's a
I see it more as a tool, to be honest.
It's a tool.
With you.
Yeah,
and
I
it's
agree.
just finding the best way of how you can use it and how you can integrate it for both the teacher, the child, and the parent as well, to get the best out of it, but to get the best out of what it can deliver and how it can help you deliver, as opposed to be replacing teachers.
Of
Andre,
course,
can I come in there?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead, Andrea.
Thank you. As Anastasia was saying, with education, it's always evolving. And as a gentleman in the chat, Mark, has said, technology is an enhancer. And as educators, we're always developing and always training. And we've got to be aware, and we've got to be, on a certain level with our pupils. So when they are navigating, even if they shouldn't be, different social media channels, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, we have got to be there, because safeguarding is another conversation, but in our schools, we've got to be protecting and keeping our pupils safe. So technology is that vehicle. And when today's children and young people become, our age, and then we're retired, they will be navigating certain jobs. And the way the world is at the moment, all jobs require a certain level of skill, digital skill and technology. Can you use Word? Can you use PowerPoint? So I think schools are looking at what is the best vehicle for them. So I know with some of my colleagues and friends, they talk about Google a lot, Google Classrooms, whereas with my school and the multi-academy trust that I'm in, it's Microsoft Teams. I've heard Anastasia refer to Zoom as well. And if you look on social media platforms, there are different groups and forums that educators can join. And if you've got a question like, okay, how do I do this in OneNote, and how do I create my own Bitmoji? I mean, I've even created a Bitmoji that I've been using in PowerPoint. And I think the nature of education is that we support each other and help each other, and then that translates into our lessons as well. But we can't be afraid of this technology, because it's here to stay. It's not going away.
Yeah, indeed.
And Wayne, I would like to bring you in on this same question around the 21st century teacher and the 21st century student.
Okay, well, for me, teaching is or learning is lifelong.
Yes,
and that's the whole ethos again, the 21st century learner. So as a 21st century teacher or educator, you have to be in tune with what's going on. You have to be ever learning. So when you think of the technology, well, I love the technology simply because when I was in the classroom, when I put a test, it marks it for me, so I don't have to go home with the stack of papers and have to mark them. So, you quickly learn things. Yes, it serves a purpose, and you find things. You find things, like Anastasia was saying before that, you find the little and you build on it. So it's about mastering it one at a time. And I remember spending some time teaching in England, and every summertime they'd ask you what it is that you want to learn in terms of performance management. And I wanted to learn how to use the interactive whiteboard. So I think as educators, we always be driven to learn something new, and find it best to implement it within our context or within our classroom so that we can grow. Because I never see myself as being in one space, because I could be out of Ireland and yet still be able to engage my students meaningfully. And they don't have to get that cover for me in terms of a teacher just being in my classroom, sitting there and just watching the children doing pen and paper. But what the other thing I find is that with the technology, or being the 21st century skilled and personnel, is that you have to just facilitate, be in a position to just facilitate the learner. Because Chanel was saying, we're born to learn, and I may be kinesthetic, and then I may just be auditory. So within the classroom, now the technology gives us an opportunity to cater for all of those persons, especially when we put the varying groups in place with that, so that they learn on their own, but we just the guide, and we within ourselves know how everything is working, so that because some of us fear that we are not the resource, but we are the teachers are a resource, just like the internet is the resource, YouTube.
So
and all of those things are resources. But me, the teacher, based on whatever child, we are the resources as well. So we have to go, learn, relearn, in other words. So because we are in a reflective profession, we always have to be reflecting on what we do to come again to produce better for the type of student that we have.
I agree. Hold your thought there, Phil. Just wanted to say, look, everyone, thank you so much for joining in this conversation. And thank you for joining us here on We Global in the Living Room as well. As we always say, we never take it for granted you taking your time on Sunday afternoon to come and join the conversations with us. Like our page, whether it be on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube, or different pages on social media. And just so you can be part of the conversations, we just think having good, solid conversations in our usual Caribbean way that we do, but having it across the region, having it ourselves, by ourselves, amongst ourselves, it's just a good way for us to share and learn from each other and move forward together. So again, we just thank you guys for joining us. Phil, carry on.
Yeah, thanks. I was just saying, like what Wayne was saying there about being in a reflective discipline. It's our reflective profession, because I think I also work in a reflective sort of job as well as a technologist.
But you're reflective all together, though. That's just
I have to reflect on that
24/7. You're Mr. Reflective too.
Even when he's sleeping.
Anyway,
yes. You're reflecting there now and that. What we just say?
I am. I'll come back to that. But one of the challenges we face in technology is, even if you see things aren't working, sometimes people have a real emotional connection to it and refuse to change it or refuse to switch it off, even if there's something new that comes in. Are any of you finding those sort of bits of conflict in your day-to-day, where there's some people who prefer to do things a certain way, and even though you can say, I don't think this is the best way to do it, how are you dealing with those types of situations?
Oh yes. There will always be that cadre of people who just refuse technology. They just refuse to be a part of it. So when we find ourselves in a position like we are now, it's surprising to know that some people haven't set up this is just an example. Set up Zoom, a Zoom class, a Teams class. But for just
so what are they doing?
don't want to be a part of it. We still have people that have those flip phones. It started like that attachment.
What, in Motorola V50?
a Razor 5 or something?
But yeah, there are a set of people that will, teachers, let me just say educators, that will always not feel as if that technology is for them. Maybe an older set that is almost close, that's closer to retirement.
Yeah.
Or
Why should I bother? Sort of thing.
exactly. So
But that brings up another point that we can probably tackle afterwards then, because is it possible that this has, could it be a group of teachers who are older who might exit because they see where technology is going and they
leave a
just
big
can't be
gap.
bothered? Because that could also be a big gap as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Big loss.
the balance there, we got to be able to strike.
it's true. I mean, I see people retiring because of COVID, and not wanting to deal with these situations. So you can say that for not wanting to deal with all this technology either. So that's quite possible. Sorry, Wayne, you were going to say something.
Oh no, because for me, you never find like some persons, let's say the teachers college, for example, they just go to teachers college and that's it. They never do any other form of training or professional development or learn to do something to help them, in other words, for lack of a better saying, move with the times.
Yeah.
And yet still you find older persons are quicker to move with what's going on in there, because I think genuinely because they are the teacher, in other words, the nurturer, and they want to do things so that they can improve themselves to improve others.
Yeah.
So it's always to go back to being reflective, and the personnel in themselves. So if I can't be bothered, that kind of person, and sometimes not even the age, because you find young persons, 18, 19, even find students that only know how to use WhatsApp or take a picture of their phone and that's it. And others, and it's not that, and they are the 21st century children, based on what, if we have to define the 21st,
just doing the job, they can't be bothered.
And yes, they just can't be bothered. And you find same thing with the students as well. So is you or we trying to find a way to get them to move from point A to point B and see the relevance. Because yes, I could be retiring and hey, let's say for example, the retirement money finishes and I'm a skilled teacher and now I have to do something else. I need the technology. I may have to teach online. I may have to do something online. I may be a consultant online and I need that thing. So we have to be willing
Absolutely.
To break that chain and to move on to the next level in terms of, educating our own selves. Because any one of us in here can be a teacher now.
True. But, and
I think
go ahead, Andrea.
Thank you. I think a key point as well is about how the technology is introduced, and it's about making it inclusive, and it's a journey that everybody's on together. So there needs to be support and there needs to be training. So with some of my colleagues, there are one-on-one team meetings, and I think some of them are watching tonight. They're probably sitting there going, "Yeah, Andrea," because I'm like, "We have a quick team. I just need to check this, and can we just try this together?" So, like Wayne said, we need to be open, but also there's got to be that support and training infrastructure there. That when technology is introduced, that everybody is part of it, and then whether you have a buddy system or you have like experts that staff know, colleagues who they can go to and to talk about. So one of my friends, who's also a union colleague, she's secondary, I'm primary, but she will talk and send me information. My husband Gervais, he's a secondary teacher, and then like during lockdown when I was doing online weekly assemblies, and then I had to embed videos, and I was getting out of my comfort zone, and he was there saying, "Well, try this and try that." So you've got to have that network there. If not, it doesn't work. It breaks down.
Go ahead, Mark. I was going to ask a question, but go ahead.
No, I was going to jump in as well, and I wanted to ask something of the teachers and to get a little bit personal. Because not personal, but just to try and
just
understand,
one personal,
just to try and understand. Look, you guys have had to shift your routines, okay? you've had to change things around. So how is the new routine working for you, and what does it look like, Anastasia? You've got a new routine that's evolving. What is it starting to look like? Because I want other teachers who are watching and who are hearing to understand where the value is that you might be able to share with them to say, actually, I do that, or maybe I'm not doing that and I should. So how is the new routine evolving for you?
Well, my personal choice, let me start by saying that to our return to school, teachers had a choice. We could either deliver virtually from our classrooms, or we could do it. We could choose to do it at home, and I chose to do it at home.
Okay.
And for me, that has been smooth. It has been. There's a level of stress that I don't have. You know, it is easy for me to get up, and I know my times, I have my scheduling, I know I'm going to be meeting for this amount of time. So it's like it's just shifting my space. It's just been a shift in space for me in terms of developing a routine. The routines are the same. You interact, you teach, you deliver your lessons, you give the children time to be to work independently. You're there for them to ask questions even during that independent time. You know, you're communicating with parents. The only I guess I have had to like loosen up in terms of my contact time with parents, because now
Right.
I can be teaching virtually, and a parent is calling, or or sending a dojo message, which is like a text messages system that we have in place with them, or an email. I have to answer an email, or I have to be reading constantly, reading emails coming in from the district. You know, like, so in terms of that, like, be interrupted as I deliver. I've had like, that's been like a different shift, but to me it feels like a more informal setting,
Okay.
So
and that's good.
Is that-
That
It
that's good
helps
for
you
me.
deliver better.
That suits you well.
Yeah,
So,
that's
so go back there for a second though, because you said you deliberately chose to stay at home. Were you driving into work previously?
um
And how far were you going?
well, no, like after we came off for the quarantine time, everyone was at home, but our return to work, where it was said that the teachers had a choice. You could either come to work, like drive to work,
Right,
and teach from your classroom
right. Or
on
stay in the
campus,
house.
or stay home. You know, this Beijing stay home.
That was like so easy, right?
I was like a
I stand
no-brainer.
it.
Yeah.
And that has worked, for me. But I know that there are others who prefer the, okay, let me keep this routine. I want to be able to get up. I want to be able to leave this place because I can't get teaching done here. I'd rather go to work. And I have colleagues who have done that.
Yeah.
You know, they've
Yeah.
also been given the opportunity that if there's one day, any day of the week that you wish to go in, you can go in. We have a health screening protocol. Our school has an app, and part of our returning is that if you're entering the site, because only teachers can be on site, and if you're entering the site, you have to fill out just a short health screening form and get a green thumbs up. Then the security guard will allow you to enter the premises.
Right.
Also, you could
Okay.
take your child to work if you had a child.
Mm.
You take your child on site as long as you followed all the the safety regulations,
Yeah,
and
the
they
protocols and stuff.
interfere with your delivery.
Okay.
Yeah. Chanel, I wanted to just tap back a little bit on something that Wayne said. I think our audience can see, and we all can see your passion as a young lady, a young teacher, a young person in the profession. But Wayne was saying as well that perhaps some young people may not be as willing to embrace change. I can see that you are though. You seem to always look for innovative ways to
Yeah.
ensure that your kids are learning, that your parents are integrated into the process, and we can keep moving forward. I'm just wondering if during this time or this period, as potential young teachers look and hear of some of the stories from our seasoned teachers and seasoned professionals, that they might want to shy away from it. I wonder if you just had a word to encourage them to think, no, this is probably a good time to get into the profession.
It definitely is. Now I was listening to everybody talk and I want to come in, but
Just jump in. This is a conversation. Just jump in when you get a space.
Yeah,
Just raise your hand.
let me just say that it's all about child's overall development. So in terms of the technology, I'll just kind of go back and move forward to answer your question. Once we are all about that, that is what matters. So we will definitely learn whether we are older, whether we are new to the profession. We all about the child's overall development, because teaching for me and the experience that I have, it's not about just giving the information and then the child, regurgitating the information. Well, some of us think like that. So that's where we may think that oh my gosh, the children are being, set back. But truthfully, they're actually moving forward. I believe that this is a season where, we will get a lot more happening. Of course, when we learn the technology and all of that. But the thing is, they've been learning via technology way before COVID, So we just need to add that to our curriculum, where it needs to be added to our teaching strategies, and we will actually meet every child, because before COVID, you'll have classes where you have 30 students or 12, and in the case of early childhood, and you're not meeting every child. At least most of the teachers I have talked to, they're not meeting every child, and some of them may not really care. It's the truth. You just get this stuff done, you meet the curriculum, you head out. But now we're actually forced to be nurturers, as Wayne said, because really and truly we are, we're really nurturers, and we really, instead of us dishing out the information, we have to really embrace who the child is, embrace their families, and that's really what education is about. Because we're dealing with the children, and also we're dealing with the different cultures that come into the school, and then the school is actually a culture, right? Wow. So then one culture. So my child will go to a school, and then another parent's child, and that's two cultures right there. And then you come into a culture, which is the school. So, and then now we are now in the technology, we're meeting the parents at home, and they are getting a taste of what we are or have had experience. And they are now learning their children even more in this space. So therefore, the family unit is being, fixed, which is important. And once we have that foundation, then we're able to go forward, and the society is better. So this whole technology advancement in education is not really new, because it's been there before. But for those of us who are pretty new to it, it's a way to move forward. If you want to get in the profession, I say by all means get in. Once you care, because that's really what teachers are for, to care for the child. And once you care for the child, and you care for all aspects of the child, which includes parents, and their family and all of that. So added to that, the parental involvement is, of course, it has been increased, because they have no choice but to be there where necessary. And so they will learn, as I said before, they need to learn their child. You can't just drop off a child anymore to school and expect the teacher to see about the children, and then you just pick them up and they do nothing home, right? And now everything is home, and education, they're being taught that education is beyond the school. It is beyond the school. So I would encourage anybody at this time to get into it, and also the older ones to get more into it, because now you're seeing it as you have a different perspective. As somebody so I have a few years, probably like 10 years, and somebody may have 25 years or over 30 years, and they are seeing a new way to be better in their profession. And where they may be lacking before, they have a better perspective.
Chanel, listening to you, we can see that you are absolutely passionate about what you're doing. And the future of the kids in Trinidad are in really good hands, man.
Definitely.
You're the most positive teacher I've heard speak on this particular season. Honestly, it's very good.
Tremendous.
Incredible.
So Andrea, if I roll back to the question about routine, because I think this is one that people really need to understand how you're adjusting and how that adjustment is taking root. What's your new routine looking like?
So the new routine is that schools are back and it's face to face, but the contingency plans are being put in place for if we go to part blended learning or go back to fully remote learning. But the routine, it's not the same because, as mentioned, there are the staggered starts, and I know that's been difficult for some parents in some schools because there might be a 45-minute difference between the one start time to the other child's start time, and then also the additional hand washing, the hand sanitizer as well, the one-way systems that some schools have got in place as well. So it's lots of adjustments are being made for the right reasons, but then you get used to one way and then there will be changes. And I think one thing that doesn't help is when guidelines are updated and it's the time scale. So we last had an update on the 28th of August, which was bank holiday weekend, and then a lot of schools were starting 1st of September. So that's a very tight turnaround time. And I don't always think that the constraints on budgets of schools is really being highlighted either. The fact that all the PPE, the additional cleaning, the additional cleaners as well, and what's been lost as well, like after school clubs, before clubs, all the cancelled events, that's had a massive financial impact. And there was what's the word I want? That schools could apply for funding, which closed on the 21st of July. So then some schools might be operating deficit budgets now because they're having to put so much in place. Also, we thought with the technology isn't cheap. No. And I, for one, am a big, promoter of technology because it does enhance teaching and learning. But then you've got to look at both sides of it. And when I reflect back to my days at primary school, I remember my primary head teacher who came as I was in my last 2-3 years of primary school, and he was a massive innovator of technology, and I still remember that to this day. So as teachers, schools, we are resilient and we adjust and we make things work, but sometimes at what cost are we making things work? I've read about some schools that had very specific cleaning wipes, and then because the funding's not there anymore, they've had to make up other ways of getting around that, improvising and almost making do. And in the 21st century, to me, that's just not right. So we need that support, and we need that the finances are there for schools to tap into. And it's not said, and then it's the difficulty like we had with the debacle with the free school meals and what was provided there, the voucher scheme. We need robust systems in place so when schools and parents tap into them, they operate and work how they should do.
Wow.
No, that's really interesting.
You've had some massive issues there to deal with, and that funding one, I think, is one that is often overlooked. But when you look at schools and you see the requirements, you do have to wonder how are schools going to carry on through this season, funding a lot of the things that they're having to put in place, and into the future years.
Well, there's even a commitment on parents as well, Mark, because even simple things like now kids have to bring their own wipes and stuff into school constantly, and even for us, within the first week we had bought a ton of them for our daughters.
That's a London thing, Phil.
It's a London thing. But no, what they have to do actually, so in the kids' school, every classroom when they're leaving, they have to wipe down. So they have to wipe down so the other guys coming in, aren't quote unquote, exposed to whatever it is that any child may have. But something as simple as that, you realize how much of those things you actually go through. And, not every parent, apart from technology that some parents might not be able to invest in, even something as simple as that also is another burden on schools, on parents, on what's not in order to keep that up.
Yeah.
You know,
And
so
also the cost of a lot of PPE went sky high when companies realized that everybody
There's
was
demand.
needing
Demand.
to buy it.
yeah,
You know?
exactly. Mass in corridors, that kind of stuff. You know, yeah.
Amazon making a killing, huh?
Oh yeah.
Oh, tell me about it. They are.
One of my
Because
boys.
availability has been a big issue because it is not even not being able to afford it, but you cannot find it. Because
Yeah.
here, if you can
Okay.
find a tub of Lysol on the supermarket shelves, you are lucky.
Oh wow.
You know, people know that if they're out by 8:30, by 8:45, everything is gone. So there are shortages. So even in thinking about that, that's why like even for we have not returned face to face, but when we do, that those are my concerns. I'm not so much concerned with going back in, but being able to maintain the safety guidelines, like financially and in terms of availability of equipment. How is that going to play out? That's
Yeah. Wow.
Then added to
Sorry.
that, sorry, just added to that, it again, this whole situation is something to just be optimistic about because it's just showing us where we were lacking. What I'm talking about in Trinidad, right? And listening on, it's like best practice is actually to have cleaning sessions. So before the start of the school and even after during morning period, and then we have another cleaning session according to best practice in the afternoon, and then when the children leave. So you would find that schools who weren't doing that before, they would have to do that when we actually go forward, to go back in the schools because I mean it's all about safety for the children. And now COVID is here to tell us, well, you weren't really washing your hands before you went to eat. You go to eat, so they say wash your hands now. But that's supposed to be the norm. So
Yeah.
COVID is actually bringing us to the norm as
Right. Well,
opposed to taking us away from the norm.
Ah, good.
not
point.
even in
Good way
school,
of
but
looking
as
at
a
it.
society in general. I mean,
society,
how
yeah.
many
Oh, yeah.
times you see people walk in the bathroom and then you see them walk out? It's like,
Oh.
Okay.
So, but
Don't go
now,
there, man. Don't go there.
Don't
Don't
get
go
it.
there.
but it's true, like so now it is like everyone is more aware of hygiene and practicing hygiene. It's not only in the schools but in wider society. So
Yeah.
yes, there's a lot of negative, but we will not deny, the positive things that COVID has helped us to realize, even in being, to use Philip's word, reflective on how we are, and as something as simple as personal hygiene to the need for community and cooperation and innovation and all these things, like it has really given us that opportunity to step back and to evaluate where we are and to see how we can move forward to where we want to be.
Yeah. Wow.
No,
That's
that's
actually part of the education, which is part of the curriculum. So you see where the well-being ties in,
Yeah.
life skills is
Excellent.
really
no, that's good.
Yeah,
Excellent.
When-
We're a bunch of optimists here.
children.
Good.
Yeah, man.
No, that's
Okay.
good. I like
we
the way
have
how
to
we
be.
turn it to being optimist and looking
We have to
forward.
be.
That's the way how we got to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does your routine look like? How is it being adjusted?
Mm, well, I have to be in every day. Well, I had no summer holidays nonetheless, because we had to prepare for schooling, for the return of the students, and how we had to break up the classroom. So my routine, I'm trying to fit now because I used to take my son to school and then go to school. And his school dismisses before mine now. So from tomorrow, I'm trying to handle how I'm going to handle this. While they're talking to you, figure out how to do this thing. So, but like Chanel was saying, when you talk about life skills and teaching them life skills, so I have to teach him. Okay, you have to stay on, wait for your teacher, while I move on, but be safe.
Yeah.
Anyway, like, so you wash your hands, you do all the necessaries. whilst you wait for a teacher, whilst I'm on my way to work. But I have to ensure that my teachers and students are safe in that light. So now it's the funding, like most persons have mentioned, or not getting the supplies readily available, because in the Caribbean system, the government are responsible for providing you with the necessary PPE. And I mean, as a school, you buy the rest, but you have to ensure and trust with the parents. Now, the student or the children are safe because of nurturing. That might your job is to nurture and take care of persons' children. But what I find is part of it is that maybe by the next 2 weeks, you're managing a lot of things, but it's making you grow and become a better person. I will take the benefits of that because it puts you in problem-solving mode, how to problem solve and how to think of things instead of being optimistic. I'm pessimistic, sorry. You have to be optimistic and think, because persons are depending on you, parents are depending on you. So therefore, you have to find the best way. You need to extend yourself so that whilst being safe, so that you could provide. So it's the challenge is there in terms of my routine to manage school, manage the teachers, manage the students, manage teaching and learning. But you want that fit that would be beneficial to all, not just one party, but all. And earlier on I mentioned being reflective. So come Friday, it's almost like asking personnel what went wrong, what did go right, what can we do to improve, to start all over again. So fixing along the way before it becomes
No, that's good.
That's good. No, that's really
out of control.
Good. That's really, really good.
And something you said they can really connect with, because I've got 2 boys who are both still in school, and I found it particularly challenging last week when it was that first morning that they had to go out, and one gets the tram to school and one gets the bus. And I felt really nervous, and I was like, but you have to let them go, And I wonder if that's a situation that a lot of parents do find themselves in, where you are really, really torn about letting your kids go out there and into society, but you have to let them go. You just got to let them go.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're in a position now where this is going to be with us for quite some time. And it's going to be a bit of a cycle as well, because, as we're seeing in the Caribbean, as we open up to tourism from outside, we're seeing a resurgence of the virus there again, as well as, us here in the UK and then in North America going to winter. Where a lot of stuff is going to be indoors, everyone packed again on the underground, on the subway, the train, the buses, and what's not, which means that the Caribbean is going to probably see that again during the winter season of travel. Yeah. So there's a little bit of a look. We got to try and do our best to navigate this as best we can. Yeah. So as Chanel was saying, some of the life skills or the well-being things that we're teaching ourselves is now becoming normal. This is the normal that we're getting back into. And perhaps we should have been paying a lot more attention to it before, but COVID-19 has forced us to do that.
Yeah.
So look, I really want to say, guys, so go ahead, mate. No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was saying, Chanel made a point, because I remember, like in terms of washing your hands and all of that, and I have one son in nursery or kindergarten, in preschool, and the other one is in grade 1. And they always tell you about washing your hand, and you must do this and you must do that there. And I find like when children get older and you meet them in the secondary school, it's like they forgot everything, like in primary school or when they're in secondary school. So it's like fantastic job in preschool and kindergarten. They'll sing a song so that they can wash their hands. And so I think now we have to pay greater attention in the secondary school, that to remind them, hey, you need to wash your hands. Thank you, COVID, in a sense.
Yes.
But you wash your hands before you eat.
Yeah.
Wash your hands after you come out from the bathroom, because and all of those general little things to improve. Just the whole thing. You handle a door and I was telling somebody I'm heavily involved in sports, and it's almost like you have to tell your sporting athletes when you hold the hand railings or coming off the plane and all those things, you need to take care of yourself so that when you get on the field of play or I reach in another country and I cannot play just because I caught a bug by handling something and I didn't wash my hands and take the necessary precautions. So,
but what sports are you heavily involved in? With?
We have to bring the preschoolers back into the secondary schools and teach society in general the right things to do.
What we need to do is actually make the learning environment high quality, because not all learning environments equally, they're not equally efficient for child's learning and development. Right. So I mean, some children may go to preschool, they may go to primary school, and you still find, like you said, Wayne, oh my gosh, like everything just went through the door. Maybe because when they go to primary school, the environment there is not high quality. And I don't mean, well, of course, you all understand what I'm saying, but I don't mean a teacher who has all the A's and all of that. I mean, once you are giving it efficiently, making sure that the child is learning and developing. And so when I talk about the life skills, that could be added to a simple thing as, let's get dressed to go to school, whether it's virtual or you have to take the bus. In doing that, you can actually work on your finger muscles that will assist you with writing, because you're going to school to write and you don't even know how to zip your lunch kit. Come on. Yeah, that's serious. So from that, and then we're forcing the children now to write and they're not ready. Their muscles are not really in the fingers. So once we actually have them do other things and incorporate life skills into it, that's actually helping them, as I was saying, the education, learning is actually beyond the classroom. It's all around us. And I take and I would, tell educators, every opportunity is a learning opportunity. Every opportunity.
Yeah.
I think as Gloria was just... So go ahead, finish it.
It builds on the total development. That's what I was going to say.
Awesome.
I think Gloria was just alluding to it there as well, that you learn so much life skills in preschool, and then from the time you hit primary school and secondary school, it's all about academic education and learning a curriculum. And that aspect of it is kind of fades away. The kind of life skills, seem to fade away from it after you leave preschool. And then it all just becomes about maths, English, science, chemistry, and what's not. But COVID is proving, no, there's certain things we should continue and make time to put on the curriculum so that we can, continue living a high standard living and what's not.
But I also think secondary school is also a time when your mind shifts to rebelling. So human beings at that age tend to start rebelling against the things that they've learned. And that's why it looks as though they have to relearn them. I think that there's a little bit of that as well.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true. But then so the high quality still goes down to the early learning centers.
Yeah.
Because not all early learning centers actually enforce life skills.
Yeah.
They're actually all about academics. So and it's part of the child. So once you integrate it's stuff, then you could be teaching a math lesson and you have it in a way that they actually doing life skills and they're not even aware of it. But you are, and they're learning different things in one activity. That's all.
No, I think that's a really, really good point.
If Bobby washes his hands 0 minutes and Timmy washes his hands 2 minutes, who is healthy?
Trust you, Phil. Listen, I just want to get one last thing.
Is calling.
Of course. one last thing, and I'll keep this very short.
Go ahead,
We've
Mike.
got a lot of educators in the chat. I just want one piece of advice from you to your colleagues who might be watching as you're going through this season. I'll start with you, Andrea. One short piece of advice.
I want to add parents on there as well, Mark, because we got a lot of parents in here as well who is watching along and trying to pick up some nuggets.
Yes.
So to the colleagues and to the parents, a piece of advice.
Yes, let's start with you, Andrea.
Okay, to colleagues and parents, I would say just be very careful with the media, because the narratives out there and information, just make sure it's from a reputable source. And just for my colleagues, I would be saying, don't be afraid to try new things with technology, and the support is out there for you.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. Anastasia?
Communication is key, and this is for parents and teachers. I think understand, meet each other where you're at, and understand what you're dealing with, especially where home is concerned and school, because with the use of technology, there's always something that's lost from being in person and seeing so that you can fully understand it. There's a lot of miscommunications and misunderstandings. And I just think an open communication of what is happening on my end and what is happening on your end and how we can meet in the middle to make sure that it works out for the children. So I think communication is going to be key going forward.
That's special. That's really good.
For real.
Yourself, Wayne?
Well, as for me, I just want to remind my colleagues, fellow teachers, to be reflective, and so that you'll be able to connect. And once you connect with your students, then it's easy. The world is beyond for them. And also the parents, that you need to reach to your child, to connect with your child. Connection is important. Connecting with them at their level so that they can be awesome, and they can be the future leaders, learners, and guidance. That's it for me.
Wow, that's really awesome.
That's really good.
And last but by no means least, Chanel?
What I would say is be flexible, because this has proven, for us to be on the go and be flexible to ensure that the children are learning continuously, and be open-minded. Open your mind to the ways of how your children learn, because you may not have known it before, but we have to know it in order for them to grow and develop into their best self. So be flexible and be open-minded.
That's great.
Yeah, great advice.
Yeah, very, very good.
Very good advice. Look, this has been another really good session talking to our educators here in the living room. And to everyone who's been watching, thank you. As usual, thank you for staying with us for the better part of 2 hours, actually. And that's what we want to do here at Ruby Global and with the living room as well. We have so many well-qualified people across this region. We've got Wayne in St. Lucia, Chanel, passionate teacher in Trinidad, as well as Donna, who wasn't able to stay on because of technological issues. She's been in the chat, so I think I see some stuff there from her. So give her a wave and say hello to her. And then we also exported some great people across the world as well, with Anastasia in Florida and with Andrea there in Wolverhampton as well. And what we want to do is to just share collective experiences as a region, and for those who might be living outside the region, and just have conversations so we can learn from each other. So I just want to say thank you guys for staying with us. We saw a whole heap of comments. Sharon Phillips, I saw your comments. Joel, thank you for your comments there. Mark Ray, whenever we have educational comments, you're always in there. I think you're in the Cayman. I think that's where he's Philip.
Yeah.
In Cayman Islands. So thank you so much for joining. Mark, I feel we got to get you on here, I see a lot of these comments that you have in here, and you seem to have a lot of information to impart. So the call coming. Don't worry about it. Angela, I saw you there as well. Thank you for joining us. Gloria, I saw you in there also. Sharon Phillips, Paula Mark, Life. Oh, I won't call that one. Myra, I saw that. Liz, thank you. Patrice, thank you as well. Thanks everyone for joining us. And to our educators, I say thank you. We salute you. Thank you so much for your service. Guys in the chat, give them a round of applause. Say hello. Tell them how much you appreciate what they're doing, looking after our kids, teaching our kids, and in some cases during this season, teaching you and us as parents as well, so that we can better educate our children. So we just want to say thanks to you guys, and thanks for taking the time for joining us. Wayne, Anastasia, Andrea, and Chanel. Donna, we know you tried, but thank you as well for staying there in the chat also.
Thanks a lot.
So thanks, guys. We just want to say thank you for joining us. It's been a really good conversation, and
brilliant.
And we need to have them more and more. So who knows? We may ask you back after the first term or first couple of terms to find out how has it gone?
Yeah.
How has the protocols gone? So, it'd be great to follow this journey with you guys and to let our audience follow the journey with you as well, because now they've gotten an insight into your lives.
That's right.
Personally and professionally. I'm sure they want to know how you're doing and how you're continuing to do.
Yeah,
man.
I hope you come back optimistic still.
Yeah, well, I think that was. I have a feeling this group will. I have a feeling this group will come back
I
optimistic.
believe so too.
Because I like how we started and where we ended. Not that we started dire, we just started reflecting. But then we pointed to the art of the possible with the passion, especially of Chanel and of Wayne, Andrea, and Anastasia. We just pointed to the art of the possible and embracing. So I thought we kept the conversation real, but also, just keep looking forward. So I thought that was good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Really,
So-
really good.
Yep. So thank you guys for taking the time for joining us.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks for
Goodbye.
having us.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Good luck, Mark, with Arsenal.
You need it.
That was not a good way to end.
That's
there,
a
Wayne.
great final word. Great final word, man. Well done.
Wayne,
I love
that
it.
was not a good way to end. Look,
Very
I would just thank you for joining us and you going to mention Arsenal. So are the evening there. So am I evening there, man. No, guys, I thought that was a real good conversation. What do you guys
That was
think?
nice. Yeah.
No, I loved it. I loved it because I think, we get to see the movement. We had them earlier on up in the summer. You can see, the hesitation and the nervousness and that type of thing. But now you can see that they're transitioning and trying to take that balancing act of having the children back and trying to assess and understand them, but also then having that personal reflection about where they are in their own personal journey. So I thought it was really, really good session.
Indeed. Donna,
Yeah.
we see you there, and we're glad that you are proud to be an educator, and we thank you for all you do as well. And thanks for trying to join us this afternoon. That was technology, but we're going to have another conversation about that at some point
About technology. Yeah,
as well.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was really, really good to see the ingenuity and the embracing of technology, but not just in technology, because if we say we got to the point that technology is a tool, it's an enhancer, it's put there in between the kids, the parents, and and the school, so to speak. But I like the way how within the region we have our own ideas of how to use it. We have our own ideas of how to set protocols in place to ensure that our kids learn. One might say from a technology perspective, and when I say technology, I don't mean having tablets or just having a laptop, but certainly the broadband issue is a huge issue across the region
Connectivity, yeah.
that COVID has really exposed. And I hope that from a developmental perspective that our leaders are seeing this, not just for education, but for business and other things as well, that's the area that we need to invest in.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's going to shift investment in that direction, because there's a definite need, and there are probably other areas of society and so on where the need has shifted as well, such that you can invest in that. That's a fundamental thing. I liked a lot of the language that came out tonight, words like supportive, communicative, reflective, connected, flexible, optimistic, open-minded, and to be honest, that's not the sort of language I was expecting tonight. I was thinking, I was expecting people to be a bit more frustrated and anxious and stressed out. But no, this is refreshing. And it speaks
It's
very well,
fresh. And
because if this is the mindset that educators have, they're going to pass that on to children.
Yeah.
And if they're engaging with parents as well, maybe they can pass it on to the parents as well.
And I think it's important to show our educators as real people.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I think parents and other people can stand off and not understand how much pressure our educators are under. But I think as Andrea, or was it Chanel that was saying, parents, or maybe it was Anastasia, are realizing what teachers go through in trying to teach our kids. So, I don't want to hear parents saying, "Oh, teachers just get a law holiday and what's not," because this period, and bear in mind that a lot of the teachers have their own kids, as Wayne was alluding to there.
Yeah.
He's got a kindergarten, year one, and then someone at university. He's got to deal with that as well as teach other people's children. So I thought it was really important that the region see our teachers as real people and people who are actually going through the same things they're going through.
And I felt, listening to Chanel was so refreshing, because it really helped you to realize that there is a newness within teaching that sometimes we don't often see. And there are enthusiastic teachers who are really passionate about what they're doing, wanting to connect in new ways and wanting to be excellent. Because that's what I heard from a lot of what she was saying, just wanting teaching to be in an excellent space. And I think that is something that's really worth uncovering.
Yeah. No, I agree. I completely agree. But look, guys, thank you everyone who stuck with us and who shared the program as well. Thanks a lot. One thing, so we trying to get to as close to how much we looking for, Mark, by the end of the year. We trying to get to in terms of followers and stuff.
We're looking for 10,000.
10,000. That's not a lot. That's not a lot. And and we're not looking for it for ourselves. We just want as many people to join in these conversations as possible, because I really think it's really important that we start having these conversations as a region. And as Mark came up with the slogan a few episodes ago, what was it, Mark?
Making the Caribbean smaller.
Making the Caribbean smaller. And then also releasing the potential and realizing the potential and the innovativeness that actually resides within. And I think it's only possible if we have conversations amongst ourselves. So on our page, you'll see invite friends to join the page. Invite as many people as possible. Let's set a target. Invite 20 of your network to join this page. If you think it'll be beneficial for them to be part of these conversations, invite them all. That impact us, that we're going to have those conversations amongst ourselves. We are not waiting for people from outside the region to tell us about the region or to tell us what we need to do or to tell us what's happening. We're going to have those conversations ourselves. So invite as many people as you can to join the page. That would be great.
Yeah.
Anything on that there, Mark or Philip?
No, I think if we can just get people to keep sharing, keep moving, and let's keep growing across the region, because these conversations are essential, especially in this season.
No, I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that. And I sent a message recently to have a living legend on soon. So I'm waiting on some stuff. So we aiming high this time, folks. And
higher.
That was pretty high last week.
Although to be fair, I don't know how much higher we can go.
That was a start with that series that I like. We can go from here now. But we try to maintain. And if the response I get is kind of where it's leaning towards, we'll let you all know something about that pretty soon. But from a West Indian programming perspective, we trying to lock down Sundays.
Yes.
And if you are in Trinidad or across the region, within the next 53 minutes at 6:00 Eastern Caribbean time, our good friend Rhoda Barath on New Source page is going to give you some insight on TTHTI and other things affecting Trinidad and the region. Because Rhoda, I see you're branching off across the region. Good lady. That's a good way to do it. So if you are in Barbados or wherever you are across the region or anywhere outside the region and you want to know things happening, say within Trinidad, but then in other places as well, from a political perspective as well, join the New Source page. I think she's probably somewhere there in our comments as well, Rhoda, if you can give people the links. But join New Source and see what's happening there. That's going to be coming up in 53 minutes at 6:00 Eastern Caribbean time, 11:00 if you're here in the UK, 5:00 Central time. Central time? Yeah, I think I got it right. So look, thanks everyone for joining us. It's been a fantastic show today. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. If you're at work, have a great week at work. If the kids are going off to school, be safe and I hope they enjoy the week. Until next time. Whew. And breathe.
Yeah.
I gotta get this high. I on a little high chair.